Evening from the sports desk. Well, the race to replace Gideon Sam as Sascoc's president has turned quite ugly. A war of words has broken out between the incumbent Barry Hendricks, who's been holding the fort temporarily before the permanent man is found. Tennis South Africa's board member Ntambi Ravele has been warring with Hendricks. As a result, now Ravele has had to withdraw from the contest, at least for now. Now, our reporter Hendricks has been following the story after attending a media briefing earlier on today, where it was 6 months to the Paralympic Games. But instead of that being the talk, Hloni, thank you very much for joining me. The people at the top have decided to just campaign rather awkwardly, in a way, if one would say, with a war of words. I mean, you caught up with Barry Hendricks earlier on. What did he have to say for himself?
Yeah, so it's a month to the Sascoc presidency, which is on the 28th of March. So obviously now people are campaigning, they're lobbying to get the people in to vote for them in that election. And basically he did say that, there was an issue that came about where Ntambi Ravele, who is a former boxing SA and now Tennis South Africa administrator, said that her nomination had been blocked by Barry Hendricks. That came about from a meeting between Barry Hendricks and Tennis South Africa President Gavin Crooks, where she says before that meeting, Tennis South Africa had come to her and said, we want you to come to be nominated for the presidency of Sascoc. And something happened in that meeting, and suddenly she was told by Gavin Crooks that Barry Hendricks doesn't support your nomination to the presidency. And so she realized that clearly there was a meeting between them. There was some actions there to influence that process. But he says he didn't do that.
Would then Ntambi not feel that, there's some sort of collusion between Barry and the very association on whose board she sits? I mean, what did she have to say in response to all of this? Yeah,
so in response to that, she did say that obviously there seems to have been something that happened right about that time of that meeting. And because of that and because of the acrimonious manner of the way this thing is working out, she decided that she's going to withdraw from the presidency, or for putting her name as a nominee to the presidency of Sascoc. That process ends tomorrow. So unless she changes her mind between today and tomorrow, she will not be putting a name down for the presidency of Sascoc. But let's hear a bit more from her in her own words.
I have decided not to put my name in because of not there to fight for position. I was there to serve my country. And if I have to fight to serve, I'm not prepared to do that. We are in a democratic country, and I think at the moment I'm not given my democratic rights to stand for elections.
Now, Hloni, I said at the start that we should be focusing on, it's 6 months down to the Paralympics, it's 5 months down to the Olympics, but we have this, that we're having to be focusing our energies on, they're having to be focusing their energies on. Is this going to have any impact, if at all, on the build-up to the Olympics and, I suppose, the preparations for the Olympic squad?
Well, I mean, in terms of the athletes themselves, I suppose not, because they still have a job to do. They do what they do. But, of course, Sascoc is preparing both teams, the Paralympic team and the Olympic team. They are trying to get their monies together for that, and that's a big part of what's been happening with Sascoc. They need 45 million rand to get both teams to Tokyo. They've asked the Lotto, they've asked the Department of Sport for that money. We know that there were issues around that ministerial inquiry report and the recommendations of it, and whether they were or were not being implemented. So this presidency is one step in that, to say that we're selecting a new president, we've done all these things, we're asking you for money, and we're trying to reform the organization. So in terms of that, if it doesn't get uglier than it has now, possibly then that's fine. But if it does become more, if there are more tensions, then that might, influence the decisions around the funding for the Tokyo Games.
Hopefully it doesn't get any uglier than it already had. Thank you very much, Hloni. That's our reporter, Hloni. Just talking about the beleaguered Olympic body, Sascoc, building up to the elections in about a month's time, a month and a day's time. In fact, the Olympics and Paralympics happening in 5 and 6 months, respectively. Hopefully the committee can get its house in order soon.